For people who don't stay and read the credits each week, the wonderful wow tenders, which is the word you came up with, all come to us via your efforts and through the cocktail collection. And
we're happy to serve.
For you guys today, I've made something super special. I've decided to make you a lovely vodka cocktail made from our Los Angeles vodka, something that's made right here in the heart of LA.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. This is my kind of cafe corretto.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who are you? And where are you going? What do you want? Together we'll find the ideal path on the Way to Wow Show with your host, Kevin Bemmel.
The realm of play is an integral part of the Way to Wow Show. Among others, it's why we have a guest bartender or wow tender on each episode. For the final show of our first season, my guest is Philip Dobard, who epitomizes the idea of do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. He's going to explain to us how to turn work into play. But first, Will Cutting's going to mix up a cocktail.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As always, it's such a pleasure to be here. For you guys today, I've made something super special. I've decided to make you a lovely vodka cocktail made from our Los Angeles vodka, something that's made right here in the heart of LA, and I thought it was the most appropriate. So for myself, I cannot stand rush hour like most people, and I stopped, instead of going all the way home once, I had an opportunity to stop at this little cafe, and they served me an espresso and tonic, and I was just blown away by this flavor combination. I'd never had that before, and I'm like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make it my own. So I did. So I took the espresso and the tonic, and I've added some vodka, I've added a little bit of an aromatic tonic, and then some cold brew coffee as well. And it's just something that's nice to sip on instead of sitting down in rush hour traffic. So, okay, again, I love to start with some of the cheaper ingredients, and I'm gonna double this up because we're making 2 cocktails. So typically you would have a ½ ounce, but I'm gonna do a full ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Oh, almost got there, not quite, a little bit more. Beautiful, I love that smell. As soon as the aromatics just start popping off of that fruit, I just know we're getting closer to cocktail time. So full ounce, again, 2 cocktails for that. We're gonna do 1 ounce of simple syrup mixed at equal parts sugar to water. So we did a full ounce for 2 cocktails. And then it's gonna get a healthy dose of cold brew. So we're gonna do actually 4 ounces. So if you're making a single cocktail, again, that would be 2 ounces of cold brew coffee. And you can use your favorite of choice. I use Starbucks for this one because it's just nice and bitter and has a really full flavor to it. And it's unsweetened as well. And then we're gonna go with my favorite thing. I love that sound every time, it just makes me happy. And then with the citrus and the coffee are gonna react to each other. It's gonna make a beautiful froth. It's gonna have a lot of aromatic and flavorful qualities to that. We're going with 1.5 ounces of vodka per cocktail. So I just put in 3 ounces of spirit altogether. And then we're gonna give that a nice shake, and it's gonna give a really beautiful frothy texture. Oh yeah, beautiful. All right, so I had 2 glasses chilling here. We're just gonna fill those up and leave just a little bit of room. We'll bring that up with the tonic. Pouring it a little bit slowly because it is quite a frothy and foamy drink. So we want to get a lot of that spirit in there and not just the froth of it as well. And it's looking absolutely wonderful. So I'm gonna put this aromatic tonic that's in there. And an aromatic tonic tends to be a little bit more bitter, a little bit more floral than your typical tonic. So it mixes together with the coffee and the lemon, and everything just comes together so nicely. And then I'm gonna give it just a little bit of spritz of lemon because I want to max out the oilful factor and get that smelling as lovely as possible. So there's 1, there's 2, and it'll be your nice little alternative to rush hour.
Oh, beautiful.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy.
Cheers.
Pleasure.
So Will made this for us.
Ah, very good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. This is my kind of cafe corretto.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because it starts out and then it goes to the next flavor and the next flavor and.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, I love coffee, the taste of coffee, but yeah, this is wow. Wow.
Hello.
Hi.
How have you been?
I've been good. Busy. It's nice to be able to, at the end of a long season, sit down with a friend who, in many ways, is as responsible for this happening as other people who have helped along the way.
Only too happy to serve. Thank you. You've been a great friend of the enterprise and a great friend of mine.
Likewise. So I'm gonna, this will probably embarrass you a little bit, but
That's you'll have to work really hard at that.
oh, okay. I'm gonna take just a minute or two to read your bio. There's so much. I condensed it down because I think we'll probably end up talking about some of the aspects of it.
Everyone needs an editor.
Yeah. Right. So something I did know about you is you started out professionally in lyric theater, right? As
Opera.
a performer. Although I did learn just today you were an opera singer.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
You were a professor. You were also an administrator. You were the general director of both the Opera Columbus and the Pensacola Opera.
Indeed.
You studied film at UCLA and produced the series Dead Time Stories for Nickelodeon and Grave Secrets, which had its world premiere right, at the San Diego Film Festival. So for 10 years, you were the vice president at the National Food and Beverage Museum and director of the Museum of the American Cocktail. And that's what you were doing when we met.
Indeed.
And you really...
Still doing it now, just we've rebranded.
Yes. Yeah, and I was going to say, and that was really kind of the predecessor to the Center for Culinary Culture,
Correct.
right, here in
Yeah,
California,
exactly.
here in Los
Yeah,
Angeles, and the Cocktail Collection.
Indeed. Yes. The new
and-
name. Yeah.
For people who don't stay and read the credits each week, the wonderful wow tenders, which is the word you came up with, all come to us via your efforts and through the Cocktail
Again,
Collection. And
happy to serve.
we're really pleased to be able to highlight that each week. And, over the last, whatever it's been, 12 months, 14 months, you and the folks associated with the Center for Culinary Culture have really been at the forefront of figuring out how do we deliver programming on food and spirits and wine without being able to be face to face,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
It's a very high touch affair, and under current conditions, no touch.
yeah.
So we had to pivot. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to talk about all of these as I mentioned when I invited you to be a guest in this context of play, but you've made playing your work, and I mean it's something I aspired to my whole life. I think I've got it now. But you, between being in the entertainment business and now being in food and wine and spirits,
Still very much in the entertainment business.
well, that's true, but still very much playing
Oh yeah.
for your work. So I guess my first question is, and maybe you've already answered this, you moved from really opera, right, to food and wine and spirits. So what prompted that move? How did that happen? How does
Sure.
one make it? That seems like, because you didn't become a waiter.
No. Though although I did pay dues in hospitality, way back when. But now I actually grew up in food and drink. My parents were seemingly the only members of my family that were not. My father was an accountant, my mother was a bank manager. But there were many members of my family who did work in food and drink. I had one uncle who was a brewmaster at Jackson Brewing Company in New Orleans. Another uncle by marriage who was a fisherman and hunter. So whatever was in season, he was hunting or harvesting. It wasn't until my 20s and living on my own that I knew what it was to have to pay for seafood, because our freezer was always filled with his bycatch. His wife, my godmother, my mother's sister, farmed soft shell crabs full time. You know how dear soft shell crabs are at the market. The freezer was always full of them. Frogs, legs, you name it. It was good. My mother grew up on a farm. On and on. My grandmother grew up on a sugar plantation in Acadiana. So it runs deep. That and the fact that I'm a native of New Orleans, where food and drink is, it's in the DNA. It's in the cultural DNA.
You're the perfect guest for the final episode of the season because we're talking about play, we're talking about work, we're talking about relationships, right? How all of these things play into our lives, right? And in unexpected ways. So, what are the specific skills that you develop that you feel allow you to basically play for your work?
Well, first off, the last time I did something I didn't love was my first job working as a bag boy at Pap's supermarket in New Orleans. That was the first and last time. It was then that I said, okay, do what you love and you never work another day in your life, right? So since then, I've been doing what I love, whether it's what I was studying in school or what I was making money doing. Now, unless you're working in a handful of fields, unless your passion is one of a handful of fields, medicine, law, hedge fund management, you're gonna spend your life working without a net if you're always doing what you love. So you have to have a high risk tolerance. Mm-hmm. High tolerance for risk, because sometimes, depending on the enterprise you're leading, you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from. So I developed that tolerance early on. So whether you call that a skill, I don't know. But people skills, paramount. People skills, relationship skills over everything else. People often say when they learn I'm a producer, they say, well, what does that mean? What does a producer do? Well, some years ago I got tired of fishing for a convincing answer to that. So I created one. A producer marshals the scarce resources that are people, money, and time in the service of storytelling. That's the skill set.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that applies to just about any enterprise. If you think of that enterprise as more than anything else, storytelling.
This idea of the producer, and by the way, I love that definition. I wish I had known it, 20 years ago or more. But you could also apply that to even the producer of a product.
Absolutely.
Right? Especially, like you talk about spirits these days, and the marketing of spirits is really the telling of a story. Like I remember when the fellow from Alabama whiskey, Clyde
Mays, Conaque Ridge, Alabama whiskey.
Right,
yes.
Right. So he basically told a great story.
Oh, yeah.
And after that, I don't think it was possible not to love the whiskey.
Yeah, and it's great whiskey.
Well, right. Yeah. To boot. Right.
Yes, but sales is storytelling. Period. You have to tell a story to, what did they say? If facts tell, stories sell.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you took this ability to work without a net, as you put it, to work without the security of a
tolerance for it.
A tolerance, okay, a tolerance for it. Fair enough.
Because I would say it never gets, it gets only so easy. It never gets easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you built your tolerance for not having a weekly or a biweekly paycheck. You honed your people skills. Then how did you how did you use those to pivot the museum from a really successful, in-person live programs? Now you've got to pivot into this domain, right? All video and media and all that, which really hadn't been a part of what you were doing, 14 months ago. Take us
certainly
through that
not
process.
not in the way that I've done film and television for some time, but it was a small part of my portfolio.
Right.
Now it's pretty much everything.
Everything.
Again. Well, first, it wasn't easy. Second, people skills, relationship skills. I literally had to go back and look at the Rolodex and to see who I know where. Because I knew that clearly whatever media I would be doing would be in food and drink, because that is what the Center for Culinary Culture does.
Right.
So I had to maintain the contacts that I had with people like Will Cutting, for instance, and all of the wow tenders who have served on this, who have appeared on this show. But I also had to redevelop or intensify relationships that I enjoyed with people who work in non-culinary film and television, and sort of marshal them
Okay.
around the cause. Because again, we're a nonprofit organization, so every penny is precious. You, as one of our board members, know that better than most people.
Yeah, in any nonprofit, right? Whatever money you spend has to really get bang for the buck.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we have managed to grow a core of variously talented people who are likewise passionate about the cause.
So, especially during this transition period, was it fun?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. I love a challenge. I like, this might not sound right. It might sound funny, but I'm an empire builder. I haven't built an empire or anything yet. I don't think I would, nothing with dollar signs attached. Nothing anyone would recognize an empire as an empire. But, make no little plans, right? Daniel Burnham's saying,
I haven't heard this.
Make no little plans, because little plans do not inspire. Big plans do. Yeah, most of them won't be realized, but no little plans will ever be realized, because they lack the power to inspire.
So, this is counterintuitive, right? Because going through all of the anxiety, the stress, the pressure, whatever, of making this pivot, it doesn't sound like play.
Well, that's just it. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. So while it can have every appearance of a lot of work, and indeed it is a lot of work, it does not feel like a lot of work. Does that make sense? It is a lot of work. It's very time consuming. I regularly put in 16, 18-hour days, but
It just doesn't feel that way.
yeah, it doesn't feel that way. Yeah, there's a burnout factor, sure. You reach a wall and you got to rest, but it does not feel that way when you're in the midst of it.
And even at that sort of darkest point, are you able to see sort of the light at the end of the tunnel, the sparkle of the big plans, at least partially coming
Not
off?
all of the time. Sometimes there are dark hours where, and often they occur at 3 or 4 in the morning when one wakes up with in the midst of anxiety.
And how do you deal with those?
Literally, how do I deal with those
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
I divert my attention. I do something else. I'm a great believer in first sleep, second sleep. If I wake in the middle of the night, I do something until I'm tired again.
Well, you could have been talking to the sleep expert we had on earlier in the show, right? That's what he said. He said, don't sit there and toss and turn.
Yeah.
Get up and do something,
Yeah.
and then go back to sleep.
I get some of my best work done between the hours of 3 and 6. If I happen to be awake at that time, I'll work.
Fascinating.
And then I go back to sleep.
So it really turns out that it is all play.
I'm not going to argue with that. I love what I do. I have a great deal of fun. Forget about loving what I do. I have a great deal of fun what I do. What I do amuses me in an edifying way.
I imagine part of it too is the people you get to work with.
Oh yes, I get to work with some of the greatest people in the world. I already mentioned Will Cutting.
Right.
There's you, and I mean that. But you know a lot of them now. You know a lot of the people. I know
do.
you have an idea of the quality of person I get to work with.
Right.
Yeah, across the organizational functions, including our patrons, the people who are passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about what we do because they're also passionate about food and drink. And when they discover that we're attempting that our mission is to tell the story of food and drink, some of them, that's the hook. I want to know more. Let's learn together.
Yeah. So you're basically walking this storytelling path together.
Yes.
All right. Well, I got the you have to wrap it up sign.
Aha.
I don't want to get in trouble with
Because we
Sierra.
could go on.
So you have a thing for us, right?
I have a thing for you.
And there's a story behind this.
There is.
As I understand.
There is. So, anti-mame proclaims the world is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death. The fact is the world is an abundant place. Now, there are circumstances that make it less so for some, but most people just avoid that abundance. And so I present you with this cup.
Thank you.
Drink of it.
May it always overflow. I'm going to put it right there. This is
Pride of place.
right next to Chai, life. And
Very
this
good.
is the blessing for our house.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
I played Laser Wolf in conservatory.
Oh, we're going to have you back on again. So I want to hear about that. We're out of time. My friend. A delight. That's our show for this week. And indeed, that's a wrap for our first season. Thinking about what Philip said, to turn work into play, we need to do two things. One is increase our tolerance for not having that weekly paycheck. And the second is to really dig in and build our people skills, how to create relationships, how to relate to people, how to work together with other people to make our big plans come true. And we can all do it. We just have to try. Have a little faith. Thank you so much for watching episodes in our first season. I hope you'll check in again for season 2. Courage at all times, my friends. Belle, you are still my Marie, and I can't believe I messed that up.
Okay.